cases of anti-Semitism in the United States are shattering records for
the aftermath of an attack on a Jewish Hanukkah holiday event at Sydney's Bondi Beach on Sunday, which gunmen
I think for Jewish people today, in this moment, around the world, there is a sense of sadness, but also what struck me is the sense of solidarity.
38-year-old man has been arrested for allegedly setting fire to Governor Josh Shapiro's home in Harrisburg with the governor inside.
One of the most high-profile Jewish politicians in America in a targeted attack that literally could have taken his life of his wife and his small children. Violence shouldn't be the price of public service.
The tragic murder of these two Israeli embassy employees outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum last night was both an act of terror and directed violence against the Jewish community.
נגד יהודים וקושרת באופן אוטומטי בין יהודים למדינת ישראל, זה מה שהיא מייצרת. אנחנו רואים שמרבית האירועים האנטישמיים בשנה החולפת היו קשורים לישראל או לציונות.
This week has been full of fear and sadness after the terror attack on Jewish activists in Boulder.
The more that people are enabling others to demonize, dehumanize, and treat others as worthy of being attacked because of who they are, the more it will happen.
Everybody else, has the ball, go away!
A scene of terror at a synagogue, the violence shattering the reflective calm of Yom Kippur, Judaism's holiest day.
Fear and anger are gripping Jews across the world after a terror attack shattered a Hanukkah celebration in Australia.
The Jews worldwide heard about the horrific news coming from Bondi Beach, and not just Jews. I think that everybody was shocked and we're all heartbroken.
Tonight, this is what's left of Jackson, Mississippi's only Jewish house of worship after an anti-Semitic attack.
Tonight, vandals are wanted for spray painting offensive messages at Afton High School.
Afton High School said it's working closely with partners, including the ADL, to ensure acts of hate aren't tolerated.
We just want to be out here spreading a message of love, and we want that to be the loudest message that they get today.
Please welcome ADL CEO and National Director, Jonathan Greenblatt.
Over the past year, 20 Jews, our brothers and sisters, were murdered. For the Jewish people in diaspora, 2025 was one of the deadliest years in memory. The victims were children and grandchildren, observant and secular. They were from every corner of the globe. Manchester, England, Washington, D.C., Boulder, Colorado, and Bondi Beach, Australia. And last week, a terrorist wanted to add West Bloomfield, Michigan, to that list. He drove a car packed with explosives into Temple, Israel, one of the largest Reform synagogues in the country. And in that building, 140 babies, toddlers, and preschoolers were going about their day. I'm sure they were finger painting, playing with Legos, singing songs, doing the things that kids do. It is a miracle, truly a miracle, that the only person who left the scene that day in a body bag was the terrorist. And if it wasn't for the bravery of the two security guards, that could have been the largest mass killing of children in American history. Let's hear it for those security guards and for law enforcement who saved lives. However, in too many places, there wasn't a happy ending over the past year. The attack in Washington, D.C. was the first lethal anti-Semitic attack in the United States since 2019. The Bondi Beach massacre, where 15 people were gunned down in cold blood and more than 40 wounded, was the deadliest anti-Semitic incident in Australian history. We grieve for these losses. We say their names, and all of us hold our loved ones a little tighter. I mean, these attacks were horrific. But what I can't get out of my mind, actually, is something that might seem like a small detail. But to me, it says so much. When Rosalia Schickberg, a Holocaust survivor who was shot and wounded in the Bondi attack, when she was admitted to the hospital in Sydney, the staff there, when they entered her in, changed her name to Karen Jones. Now, it's not clear if the nurses did that to protect her from outsiders coming into the hospital or from the actual hospital staff themselves. But let that sink in for a minute. Right after Rosalia was attacked, shot and almost killed for being Jewish, almost literally wiped off the face of the earth, whether for her own protection or due to their prejudices, these doctors and nurses felt the need to erase her Jewish identity. And it's not a story because, you see, anti-Semitism has not just become murderous, it's become mundane. It's become so commonplace that in many places, what would have made headlines a decade ago barely goes noticed today. No one thinks much about saying or doing things that would have been a scandal not too long ago. But when being Jewish is something to hide, not in 1938, not in some distant authoritarian regime, but in 2026, in a modern democracy, in a hospital of all places, that is what the mundane face of anti-Semitism looks like. And if anyone here today, if anyone watching thinks that that was an isolated moment, just look at what happened in the days after the US and Israel launched the military operations against Iran. I mean, whatever your views on the conflict might be, and reasonable people can hold very reasonable differences. What happened next was not about policy. It wasn't about geopolitics. It was about blame. And the blame, as it so often does, was placed at the feet of who else? The Jews. For some, they pointed fingers at the Israelis who they claimed whispered a few too many times in President Trump's ear. For the senior senator from Maryland, a state with one of the most large, most active, most observant Jewish populations in America, he blamed AIPAC. which he slandered as un-American. Then there's the U.S. congressman who stated that he stands against the, quote, neoconservatives who led the U.S. into the current war, and instead, his words, he's proud to stand with Hassan Piker, one of the most outspoken, toxic, virulent anti-Semitic influencers in the world, who the congressman described as one of the representatives of, quote, a new moral order. Again, his words. Other elected officials fell over themselves to make big, splashy announcements of not taking money from the largest pro-Israel organization in the country, even as they seemingly have no problem taking money from anyone else. And it's not just politicians. Podcaster Tucker Carlson, again, one of the most visible, venomous anti-Semites in public life, he bizarrely accused Chabad of orchestrating a holy war in the Middle East. I mean, really. And legions of right-wing influencers followed his lead. And if you think demonizing Jews doesn't have consequences, you should go to West Bloomfield. Or go to Silicon Valley and talk to the two men in San Jose who were violently assaulted as they sat in an outdoor cafe speaking Hebrew to each other. Or go to Toronto, where 3 synagogues were shot at. Or go to Belgium, or Norway, or Holland, where bombs were hurled at synagogues and Jewish schools. Or go to the UK and talk to the Jewish high school soccer team who endured spectators chanting at them, "dirty Jews," and go back to the gas chambers. And this wasn't in the last 2 decades, or even in the last 2 years. This was just in the last 2 weeks or so. And I'm not even mentioning the dozens and dozens and dozens of calls that ADL regional offices get day in and day out from coast to coast from people experiencing harassment and vandalism and violence. Folks, make no mistake, we are facing the most concentrated, the most dangerous, and a lethal surge of anti-Semitism, the worst in living memory. And it's not just coming from the right or coming from the left, from Islamist extremists or Christian nationalists or white supremacists or radical anti-Zionists. To paraphrase a recent film, it is everything, everywhere, all at once. Now, maybe it's no surprise that 55% of Jewish Americans told our pollsters that they directly experienced anti-Jewish hate in the past year, with nearly 1 out of 5 saying they were physically assaulted, openly threatened, or verbally harassed. Now, if ADL weren't here fighting anti-Semitism every single day, I fear it would have been far worse. But I also fear that if we don't turn this tide, life in America as we know it will irrevocably change. Change for Jews, sure, but also change for everyone. You've heard the cliche, but it persists because it's true. Anti-Semitism is the canary in the coal mine. It is an illness symptomatic of deeper decay and rot in a society. You see, a country riddled by anti-Semitism is one where intolerance is widespread, where conspiratorial thinking tops free inquiry, where pluralism is imperiled, and where democracy is in danger. That's why we have no choice but to battle anti-Semitism with everything we've got, to protect ourselves as Jews, but also to save America itself, to keep this incredible 250-year experiment alive and thriving. And that's why we're here this week. That's why I wake up every single day energized and ready to do this work. Now, I know everyone doesn't quite see it the same way. Recently, some have argued that we need to choose between fighting anti-Semitism or building Jewish life. I'm sure some of you have heard this debate. But they got it wrong. Security and identity, those aren't competing priorities. They are inseparable preconditions for the flourishing of Jewish life in an open society like ours. Look, if we want to live proudly, openly, as Jewish Americans, as citizens, equal in this amazing country to everyone else, then we have no choice. We must remember who we are, both as Jews and as Americans. My friend, anything less is an abandonment both of our covenantal heritage as Jews and our constitutional rights as Americans. Now, that doesn't mean that the same tactics from 20 years ago will still work. The things that we did and the plays that we ran before we faced social media, or campus encampments, or generative AI, and the billions of dollars spent by Qatar and Iran on disinformation campaigns. But it does mean that we need to focus our efforts like never before, to try new things, to fail fast and double down on what works. In other words, we need to innovate and take risks, because playing it safe will not make the Jewish community safe. And so that's what we're doing at ADL. Across our three key pillars: protect, advocate, and educate. By innovating in these three areas, by focusing our resources and our know-how on doing these things that only we are equipped to do, we remain true to ADL's core purpose: to protect the Jewish people. So let's start with the first pillar, protect. Protect for us, it's not about more metal detectors or armed guards. There are other organizations who perform that function and do it very well. For ADL, it means tracking and disrupting potential threats before real harm happens. So our Center on Extremism has hired more data scientists and software engineers in the past year than in our entire 100-year history. We've built AI-powered tools that take open source intelligence to the next level. Tech that can analyze scores of millions of posts and messages on platforms you've never heard of and would never want to use. But our research formed the basis of more than 1,000 alerts to law enforcement and community partners last year alone. Today, ADL is the signals hub for the entire American Jewish community, providing real-time intelligence and continuous information that supports law enforcement, as well as security organizations, synagogues, schools, JCCs, and more. We are neutralizing threats every single day. Now, protect also means providing legal services and support, so when Jews face discrimination or targeted hostility, they have access to best-of-class talent to help them. Last year, we launched with our friends at Gibson Dunn, ADL's Legal Action Network. It brings together more than 50 of the top law firms in America whose attorneys have committed to take cases and help us fight hate purely pro bono. This means that This means we can draw on a potential pool of more than 50,000 attorneys to help us combat the evil of anti-Semitism and extremism. Our legal team is on the ground, in court, right now, in places from Santa Ana, California, to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, from Ohio to Washington, D.C., helping victims of anti-Semitism fight back. So protect, that's our first pillar. Now, our second is to advocate, to fight for Jewish civil rights in our laws and in our policies so that Jews are treated equally and fairly in schools or stores, colleges or corporations everywhere. At ADL, advocacy is about ensuring accountability when institutions fall short and fail our community. It's about pushing for resources that reduce vulnerability. It's about using the democratic process to protect our rights. ADL is currently working on over 60 bills and legislative initiatives in more than 30 states aimed at fighting anti-Semitism. We've had success here in New York and Indiana, for example, where we helped pass laws to curb masked harassment. Working with Jewish federations, our advocacy efforts have helped secure more than $500 million in government funding to protect at-risk institutions. And these are resources that enable real-world improvements, such as the security cameras that literally recorded the crime and led to the arrest of the arsonist who tried to burn down the historic congregation Beth Israel in Jackson, Mississippi. That is ROI. Holding people accountable also extends to universities. In 2024, ADL launched the Ratings and Assessment Institute, a novel initiative based on a very simple premise. You can't change what you're not counting. Our first project was the Campus Anti-Semitism Report Card. The 2026 edition was released just last week, and I'm proud to say that it has worked. Public pressure and a dose of FOMO, really, have prompted colleges and universities to improve their performance. Because we shined a light and then worked with these institutions, A's and B's now account for nearly 60% of the grades. That's up from just over 20% 2 years ago. Now, finally, we believe that we can't just throw our hands up and see anti-Semitism as inevitable. If we want to stop it, we've got to change hearts and minds. And that's our third pillar. From protect and advocate to educate. To my mind, to be smart about education, you need to follow the data. That means evidence-based interventions. That research demonstrates reduce conspiratorial thinking, diminish zero-sum moral reasoning, and strengthen the willingness of bystanders to act. Driving our efforts in this area is the ADL Center for Anti-Semitism Research, or CAR. We have a team of PhDs at ADL. They are on staff and continuously running experiments, conducting tests to assess what works and what doesn't in reducing anti-Semitic attitudes. CAR is working with their colleagues in the ADL Center for Technology and Society to understand how the major AI platforms are building their products so that we can help them prevent new technology from replicating the worst features of social media. We don't want LLMs to emerge as an even more potent super spreader of anti-Semitism and hate. For that reason, we're in regular contact with the major AI companies, and I'm proud to share making a difference. For example, last year, we showed OpenAI how its new video generation AI tool, Sora, made it easy to create anti-Semitic videos. We worked it out with them, laid out the facts, and then 9 months later, when version 2 came out, Sora now refuses to generate videos around several of the specific concepts that we discussed and shared with OpenAI's team. And in schools, our No Place for Hate program reaches more than 2 million kids a year across the country. But now, through our new AI tool, ADL Aura, any educator anywhere in America can access world-class ADL content and instantly create customized lesson plans from the palm of their hand with a smartphone or a tablet, because ADL Aura draws on our small language model of thousands and thousands of PhD-developed content created by the ADL education team. But you know, at the end of the day, education isn't just talking to ourselves. We can't do this alone. We must partner with others to reach people in places where Jewish organizations just don't go. Through ADL's new partnership with the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, we are working with the movement's 42,000 affiliated churches and one of the fastest growing Christian organizations in the United States and Latin America to build it, as they put it, a firewall against anti-Semitism and hate. Our work with Latino and Christian partners is rooted in genuine fellowship, in the shared belief that we are all God's children. And that is exactly the spirit in which we stand together in this work. My friend, Reverend Samuel Rodriguez, who heads NHCLC, will talk with us later today on this stage, and it is going to be a treat and an honor to share this sofa with him. So protect, advocate, educate, and continually innovating in each of these fields. That's how we protect the Jewish people. That's how we create space for Jewish Americans to be fully Jewish and fully American. And after all, that is the promise that brought our families here. And that's a promise that's as old as America itself. You know, recently I learned that when the Constitution was ratified in 1788, there was a grand procession in Philadelphia to celebrate the occasion. Not only was the cantor of Mikveh Israel, the local synagogue, asked to march with 14 other members of the clergy, but at the public feast, after the procession, there was a table of kosher food set up for the Jewish attendees. Think about that. Right at the beginning, the founders welcomed Jews as part of the grand American experiment. We were not seen as others. We were not asked to check our identities at the door. There was no litmus test for our inclusion. We were welcomed. We were welcomed because that is the American way. So, my friends, as we sit here 250 years after the founding of this incredible nation, we are fighting for that promise, for that uniquely American way of life. We are here fighting for our inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, our right to be as Jewish as we want to be in any way that we choose, and our right to be accepted without hesitation in every facet of American life. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And that's why over the next 2 days, we will learn together how to battle anti-Semitism in the classroom and in the workplace, in the halls of Congress and the local Board of Education. Now look, I know that many of you are scared or anxious of what may come. I know it because I talk to you, I hear from you, and I know you're worried about what the future holds for your children and your grandchildren. I feel it too. But here, this week, in this place, at Never Is Now, and in the month and years to come, we will celebrate who we are and hold our heads high. We will not hide our identities. We will not seek forgiveness for our faith. We will never apologize for our love and support for the Jewish state of Israel. Not now and not ever. And to those who say, to those who hate us, we say to them, we see you, we hear you. And guess what? We are not going anywhere. We are not the Jews of trembling knees. We are here now and forever. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai.
Please welcome singer, actress, and social media activist, Montana Tucker.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Woo! Welcome to ADL's Never Is Now Summit. I am Montana Tucker, and I am so excited to be here with you again for Never Is Now. A heartfelt thank you to a few of the leading sponsors who helped make this gathering possible. Esta, Gordon Epstein, and Robert Epstein. The Sunshine Charitable Foundation. Hillel International. Woo! The Mildred and Sam Levine Institute. Chobani and La Colombe, who will be on site with us throughout the summit to provide coffee for all of our guests. And last but not least, thanks to all of you for being here. Yes. Wow, I'm loving the energy in here today. I love this crowd and I love this event so much because it brings together people from across the country, from across the world, who are speaking up for kindness, for care, and for each other. That matters more than ever, because right now, at home and abroad, we continue to see a surge in anti-Semitic incidents, harassment, and violence targeting Jews. But we're also seeing people advocate for what is right. We're seeing it in the actions of people across all communities. College students who are making sure that their administrations do the right thing. Do we have any college students in here right now? Yeah. We have reality stars and social media influencers who are using their platforms to speak out against hate. Yes. We have our incredible non-Jewish leaders who know that anti-Semitism is not just a Jewish issue, it's a threat to the values that we share. Where are our allies, our Jewish allies in here? Yes, thank you. We are seeing it from the essential work of ADL, the leading anti-hate organization in the entire world. Woo! ADL has spent more than a century working to honor its mission, to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and secure justice and fair treatment to all. That work has never mattered more. The alarming number of anti-Semitic incidents requires Jewish communities and their allies to mobilize and fight back. And that is exactly what ADL is doing. They protect, monitoring and disrupting anti-Semitism and extremism online and off, tracking bad actors and emerging threats and sharing critical intelligence to keep communities safe. They advocate, advancing laws and policies that create safer communities, holding institutions accountable and providing resources for people to take meaningful action. And they educate, reaching millions in K through 12 schools, universities, workplaces, and communities with tools and programs to help them understand, recognize, and confront hate. Now, I want you all to look around this room. We have leaders, creators, allies, and advocates. We've got people who have been doing this work for decades. And then we have people who are bringing this new energy to the cause. We've got wisdom, and we've got momentum, experience and passion, legacy and the next generation, all in one place. In a time when hate tries to break us down, this room right here is proof that we are stronger than people might expect. Because anti-Semitism, it doesn't divide us, it reminds us of who we are. And we know, all of us, that together is how real change begins. And that's what today's about. It's about showing up together with courage, with determination, with love, with joy, and with each other. And over the next couple of days, we will hear from some extraordinary people who are lifting up Jewish communities across the country, leading the charge with courage and with joy. We'll talk about the ways that we can use action today to create the future we want to see. And when we go home, we'll take what we have learned, what we've felt, and what we've done here, and we'll use it to change the world. So, are we ready to get started? I think there's about 3,000 people in here. Are we ready to get started? All right. To kick things off, it is my absolute honor to welcome back ADL CEO and National Director Jonathan Greenblatt.
Isn't Montana the best, ladies and gentlemen? Let's give another round of applause. So much energy. Universities are some of the most important institutions in any society. They are storehouses and transmitters of knowledge. They are places that forge our future leaders, instilling in students the values they will carry with them into boardrooms, courtrooms, media outlets, hospitals, wherever life takes them. That's why it matters when anti-Semitism is tolerated or excused, sanctioned, or even celebrated on campus. That's why we've fought for the civil rights of Jewish students, Jewish staff, Jewish faculty, to go to class, to teach, to walk down the quad without being harassed day in and day out over these past few years. And as I mentioned in my speech, 2 years ago, we started our campus anti-Semitism report card because we recognized that colleges understand grades. And when you aren't performing well, parents, alumni, donors, prospective applicants, and even members of Congress take notice. So last week, we published our third annual campus report card, the most comprehensive assessment of how universities are combating anti-Semitism and strengthening Jewish life. And I am proud to repeat what I mentioned a few minutes ago. Many more colleges and universities have done the work to earn better grades. Nearly 60% of the 150 institutions we assessed earned A's and B's. That's up from just over 40% last year. Nearly half of those we assessed in 2025 improved year over year. We brought together many of these institutions today here at Never Is Now to continue the dialogue, to share best practices, to learn from one another in a community of practice and explore what more they can do and we can do to help them. The schools we're recognizing today for their high grades saw what was happening and did not look away. The administrators, they made hard calls. They understood their jobs. They saw the evidence that when anti-Semitism goes unchallenged, it spreads. These leaders, they strengthened their policies. They established task forces. They mandated education about recognizing and responding to anti-Jewish hate. And they improved incident reporting so that victims knew what to do when they were targeted. These leaders, they clarified what hate looks like, and they enforced the rules. So we are proud at ADL to honor the following universities for their commitment to Jewish members of their campus community. We're proud to recognize them for their moral clarity, and we're proud to lift them up for their refusal to tolerate anti-Semitism and hate. So, with great pleasure, let me recognize American University, Case Western Reserve University, CUNY Baruch College, New York University, SUNY Rockland Community College, Arizona State University, Florida International University, Georgia Institute of Technology, Johns Hopkins University, Temple University, the University of Southern California, and Vassar College. Please, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming and honoring and celebrating these leaders. I also want to recognize those who couldn't be with us today: Brandeis University, CUNY Brooklyn, Elon University, Florida Atlantic University, Northeastern, Purdue, Tulane, University of Georgia, University of Miami, Vanderbilt, and Wash U in St. Louis. Can we take a picture? Now, as part of my job leading ADL, I've had the privilege of speaking at many conferences of other organizations over the years, a lot of them. But one really stands out to me. Last fall, I was the keynote speaker, or one of the keynote speakers, at the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference's annual event in DC. For those who don't know, NHCLC represents over 42,000 churches and millions of Latino evangelicals across the country and throughout the Western Hemisphere. And what struck me about this event, and again, I've been to a lot of these things, folks. What struck me about their event, I just couldn't stop thinking about it afterwards. I called my wife and described to her, was that the discussion of anti-Semitism didn't begin and end with my appearance. In fact, whereas at other conferences I had to show up and insert the issue, NHCLC had an entire section of their agenda, maybe 2 hours or more, devoted to the topic. Never, not once, in a decade had I seen another organization offer that kind of focus to this issue of anti-Jewish hate. That was the start of what's become a thriving partnership between ADL and NHCLC, where we're educating pastors on best safety practices for their congregations, where together we're supporting legislation like the Pray Safe Act and the Dignity Act to make our communities safer, to support immigrants and refugees, reaching thousands through multilingual social media campaigns, and most importantly, building bridges between the Jewish and Latino Christian communities. I would go so far as to say I believe this is one of the most important undertakings that I've initiated or had the privilege to be a part of here at ADL, and all of us are committed to this work. But the man who made this partnership possible has spent his career building bridges across faiths and divides to taking a stand. As we look to combat anti-Semitism, to stand up for our communities against hate, all of us are honored, and I feel gifted to have the opportunity to welcome to this stage my friend, NHCLC President, Pastor Sam Rodriguez. Ladies and gentlemen, so let's dive into the partnership that I just mentioned, Pastor Sam, that we announced last fall. So I think one thing we can certainly agree on is that the Hispanic evangelical community and the Jewish community, you know, we come from very different traditions, very different theological backgrounds. Where do you see the shared values that make a partnership like this possible?
First of all, honored to be here. Es un placer para mí estar con ustedes en este día, este lugar.
Gracias, gracias.
Una super bendición.
Thank you.
And by the way, you were a highlight of our conference. And that's not Mutual Affirmation Society, like an echo chamber of love, and it could be, you never know. But you really did. And I'm a Californian, so I'm going to speak with this. You killed it, man. It was awesome. I mean, you know, so
nice of you to say.
Now, with that being said, we're driven, of course, by the impetus. We're committed to biblical orthodoxy, but we're committed to this crazy idea that we're all created in the image of God. The Imago Dei. What a crazy thought, right? That every single human being carries the image of God. And we're driven by another idea that our Judeo-Christian value system, more than a value system, a worldview, is the quintessential deterrent against secular totalitarianism, religious extremism, what I would deem as cuckoo for Cocoa Puff ideas, right?
Right.
It's that. So this is not anything. We're committed to this. Here's the dream. The Latino community emerges as the firewall, pushing back all vestiges of anti-Semitism. Imagine that in America in the 21st century.
Like, I get goosebumps when I hear Pastor Sam speak, because you can feel the energy literally radiating from him. And so you've said, and you're sort of alluding to it, that anti-Semitism is a moral and spiritual crisis. So, like, talk to me about what that framing asks of faith leaders, what that framing asks of others that maybe other leaders can't provide.
Yes, but we're driven by a rubric, and I'm guided by this every single day. Today's complacency is tomorrow's captivity. Today's complacency is tomorrow's captivity. We are what we tolerate, and truth must never be sacrificed on the altar of political or cultural expediency. Ever.
Bravo.
So that drives us to do this. We're going to look at every single incident. We can't be silent. And now I'm a Christian, but I go out there and talk about people and tell them, listen, there's no such thing as comfortable Christianity. But our Judeo-Christian value system compels us, drives us to pray, yes, but to pray and act. Not in some sort of political advocacy motif, but prophetic activism. Because it's doing justice, loving mercy, walking humbly before God. It's Psalm 89:14. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of your throne. Truth and love lead the way as attendants. So when all these things happen, we don't go back to our churches, our Latino churches, and go like, let's just pray for the people of Israel. We love the Jewish people. Let's just pray for them. It's about praying and acting. It's about repudiating and coming against every single solitary manifestation of hatred, doing it with courage, doing it with conviction, and doing it with every single fiber and fabric of our beings.
Bravo. Like literally, I get fired up. So I like the idea of prophetic activism. So when you call on your communities to act, what does acting look like to you? How does that activism actually manifest?
Acting means that we engage the culture in order to reform the culture. So we push back, be it on manifestations in our communities and universities and colleges. We were there. And we said, absolutely not. How can we permit in the 21st century the prohibiting Jewish students from getting to their classrooms? This is, I mean, who does this? It's 2026 for crying out loud. I mean, who would tolerate this, right? So we come alongside. And we come alongside, yes, in political legislative advocacy. We call it prophetic activism. We come alongside in confronting when we see things on social media. Now, in full disclosure, I must come to you with a spirit of repentance. I must confess to you that there are sectors and segments in my evangelical community who have, unfortunately, they just left the barn, off the rails. And they are beginning to project, pronounce, advance a narrative that is anti-Semitic. I tell you this is my word on this stage. The Latino Christian community will not tolerate it. We will push back hard, and we are pushing back hard.
Thank God. So it's interesting because I think Latinos and Jews, first of all, there are many Latino Jews. Many of them work for us at ADL. Many of them are in this audience. But Latinos and Jews are similar, that we all came here as immigrants or refugees, right? We're all from somewhere else. So talk about how that shared, heritage informs your faith and maybe our shared experience today.
You know, that immigrant journey is powerful, right? We come here for, you referenced it in your keynote, just for the idea of the American dream, of going beyond the limitations of where we came from, be it economic, social, political oppression, religious persecution. So we're looking for a better day. And not that this is the quintessential utopia, but it is a better day. And we need to affirm the values of our founding fathers. Again, undergirded by our Judeo-Christian value system. Somos inmigrantes. We have similar journeys. Now, we've never been through the persecution and what you have suffered as a people throughout the course of human history. Absolutely not. But we've had our episodes here and there of little moments recently, even of little things that have happened here and there. In certain places which I will not mention. But so with that being said, we understand. We understand, not completely, but we have a little bit, but we understand this. When we, as immigrants, come together, and the children, the offspring of immigrants come together and say, we want to make a better day in America for the emerging generation. We definitely want to make certain that our God-given rights, these rights given to us by God, are never taken away. So let's come together. I truly, one more time, truly believe that the Jewish community and the Latino community, if we come together like Joshua and Caleb, man, we're gonna bring down every giant of hatred in our generation.
Bravo, bravo, bravo. Yeah, I mean, I think this is what the bigots are afraid of. They're afraid of this kind of alliance. They're afraid of Jews and Latinos, they're afraid of the Christian community and the Jewish community, again, coming together in a way which pushes back on their bigotry. I really think it's small-minded people pushing an agenda who are afraid of what happens when our communities unlock their potential.
It's education. It begins with that. It's education with our children. It's education with our children at an early age. It's understanding the values that we share, that we hold near and dear. It's a multi-generational outreach. We have to reach the entire spectrum.
So let's talk about that. So I had the great honor of speaking at that church in Hollywood, and it was extraordinary. It was an evangelical church, and honestly, it was all young people. I was the oldest guy there by like 15, 20 years. I swear, it was crazy. And all your pastors were like in their 20s. So like, again, I think a lot of our focus needs to be on millennials and Gen Z. By the way, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the anti-Semitism. So talk to me as a pastor about how you engage those younger people at a time when their participation in organized religion is going down. For you, it's like it's going up.
Yeah, interesting enough, I was speaking with a rabbi in the green room, and he affirmed something I was going to share with you, so it was pretty powerful. That generation, Generation Z, the emerging alpha, but millennials and Z, they are losing faith, but they're losing faith in the institutions. They're losing faith in the political infrastructure. They're losing faith in sort of the propaganda machinery out there, right? And the apparatus and the status quo. But there is a spiritual hunger. I am convinced and persuaded that we're at the precipice of a faith awakening. Where we come back to faith, where we come back to that Judeo-Christian value system that really undergirds society and Western civilization, if not the entire world. So I have hope in that generation. You went into that church. You saw a bunch of 20-somethings really committed. That's the generation we're reaching. Through education and through constant information dissemination that pushes back on the lies permeating social media. We're going to do it, and we're going to succeed in this objective. We're going to do it. We'll do it in Spanish. We'll do it in English, and we'll do it super caffeinated on 3 caramel macchiatos, but we will do it.
I love that. So I got to ask you, like, where does this come from for you? Like, what was your spiritual awakening? Like, Pastor Sam, like, how did this happen to you, and from where did you find this inspiration?
My inspiration for my commitment to the Jewish people in Israel does not come from some sort of eschatological, myopic biblical interpretation. It's not. It comes from the fact that, and I go, Genesis 12:3, go beyond that. That's beautiful, but go way beyond that. I went to Israel. I went to Israel, and when I went to Israel, it changed my life. And then I did my due diligence, and as a young, I was in my early 20s, which in my mind, it was just last year.
You can pull that off, I'm just saying.
It's Latino Botox. But anyway, it changed my life, Jonathan, it did. I came back, I looked at my wife and went like, ¿pero qué es esto? ¿Qué estamos haciendo? And it convicted me that, Sam, you can't be silent, man. And you can't be silent and you can't be satisfied with just praying and saying, God, protect our Jewish brothers and sisters. You gotta speak up. And you gotta act up. And you gotta vote accordingly. And you gotta motivate others. And you gotta push back on every single manifestation. It's Haman. We know it's Hitler, it's Hamas, it's the same continuum of hatred, and we will defeat that continuum in our generation.
Yeah, and again, I've worked with a lot of leaders in this job, and I've been very fortunate. And just rare do I hear the kind of moral conviction and just clarity that you bring to this, Pastor Sam. So you've dealt with a lot of politicians, right? Multiple presidential administrations, different parties. Like, how do you navigate the political differences with this strong sense of faith that you have? Have you found it difficult, or how do you do it?
Well, it's definitely difficult. We've had the privilege of being connected to 3 different, from President Bush to President Obama to President Trump, even currently. And I'm driven by the same commitment. When your integrity is greater than your influence, nothing can stop you.
So you've got a room full of thousands of people are sitting here today, 4,000 and change. They want to fight hate. They want to be part of coalitions. So as you look at this crowd, what might be one concrete thing you would ask of them, right? You've made a choice to speak out, but tell me, what do you want them to do as they leave here today, Pastor Sam?
I want them to come here, 3 things. Inspiration, information. I'm going to use a theological term for my stream, impartation, the heart, the head, and the hand.
Okay.
I want them to come out of here inspired and motivated, that when they see the Latino experience, next time you see something that really awakens, that, oh, that's Hispanic, that's Latino. By the way, it's Hispanic. So the way that I teach it is Hispanic, capital H. We are God's panic to every vestige of darkness and hatred. I really believe that. So every time light stands next to darkness, light always wins. I want them to know they're not alone. I want them to know that the immigrant community is not a burden. We are a blessing to this country. We are. And we're a blessing to the Jewish community. And from Argentina all the way to Canada, all the way to Spain, you're about to see the Latino community rise up in defense of Jewish brothers and sisters around the world. And we do it with love, we do it with humility, we do it with mutual respect, and we do it with honor. Because so goes the Jewish community, so goes the rest of the world. And you're not alone. Estamos contigo. De aquí hasta el final.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Sam, the best.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Wow. How do I go after that? Thank you so much, Jonathan Greenblatt and Reverend Samuel Rodriguez. It is just so inspiring to see that kind of friendship and partnership on this stage. I mean, I think we have to give them one more round of applause. I love seeing leaders from different communities say, we've got each other's backs. Moments like that make me feel hopeful. They remind me that when we come together across communities, when we're not just reacting to hate, we're building something better. At the end of the day, that's what this is about. It's about showing up and building bridges. That is what is happening at every level, in our neighborhoods, across our communities, and on the world stage. We are now going to hear from someone who knows that world stage pretty well. Take a look at this message from U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee.
Greetings, everyone, from Embassy Jerusalem. I'm Mike Huckabee, U.S. Ambassador to Israel. I'm in the middle of what has been a very interesting, almost 2 weeks now, the conflict with Iran. I want to begin by saying how grateful I am for the prayerful support of people back in the United States as they recognize the extraordinary challenges that are faced in this part of the world, not just in Israel, but throughout the region. But for 47 years, the Iranian regime has threatened the United States. Let's be clear, this isn't about Israel. This is about all of the free world. It's certainly about Jewish people. It is about Israel. But it's about the United States. And a lot of Americans don't seem to understand that for 47 years, the Iranian regime has threatened death to America. And they mean it. They kill thousands of Americans in various ways, directly and through their proxies. They've twice hired people to assassinate the president and many other diplomats. This is not a conflict in which the United States is doing something for Israel. This is that the United States is doing something for Americans. And I hope people understand it. It's just that Israel stands in the way of what Iran would love to do to us. Over the past couple of weeks, my wife and I moved into the command center where I would be able to better manage the day-to-day situation and to be able to be just steps away from classified space in order to be on secure phone calls. That was important enough that we, in moving to the command center, with our 2 dogs, ended up for the past couple of weeks sleeping on cots and making our meals out of a small kitchen that included a microwave and a hot plate. We're not complaining. We consider it an extraordinary privilege, not just to be here, but to be able to serve the people of the United States at such a critical time. We also believe that it's important that we stand up against something that is a cancer in our country, and that's the rise of anti-Semitism. When we say no, never again, we need to mean it. But we need to do more than let it be a slogan. It needs to be a lifestyle, and it needs to be something that comes from our hearts to the people of the world. As you meet there, I trust that you will continue to keep us in your prayers and realize that we are grateful, proud, and always ready to serve our God, our country, and the people of America. God bless you.
Please welcome back ADL's CEO and National Director, Jonathan Greenblatt.
Holocaust survivor and Nobel laureate Elie Wiesel once said, "One person of integrity can make a difference." I thought about that a lot because it's easy to look around at the scale of what we're fighting and feel like no single voice matters. But Wiesel knew something that we sometimes forget. Courage is contagious. One person who chooses to stand up gives others permission to do the same. That's why we created this award, the Courage Against Hate Award. Look, we know corporate America doesn't always get it right. Far too often, we've seen companies go silent when silence was the wrong choice. But when a leader does get it right, something remarkable happens. It doesn't just ripple outward, it cascades. One CEO who speaks up encourages another to act. One policy sets a standard that a whole industry starts to follow. One act of courage becomes an avalanche of change. Again, that's exactly why we created the Courage Against Hate Award. It exists to honor leaders from the private sector who don't wait for the winds to shift, who don't look at the polling numbers before deciding where they stand. Leaders who make the fight against hate a business imperative, not just a value statement. We've had some remarkable honorees. People like Tim Cook, Dr. Albert Bourla, Julie Sweet, and Hamdi Ulukaya, among others. This year's honoree leads a $15 billion public company. He oversees more than 80,000 employees. But what I most want to tell you this afternoon, what I want to share about him isn't his portfolio. It's his posture. He has made it clear, consistently and without apology, that there is zero tolerance for hate or bigotry or anti-Semitism at his company. He has created ways for his teams to come together, to bridge divides, to build empathy, even when the outside world seems to be pulling us in the opposite direction. Following recent national tragedies, GAP initiated an internal forum where teams come together to explore complex topics, to bridge divides, and to build empathy in the context of such tragedies. During his previous tenure at Mattel, our honoree helped lead a broader push for representation in play, advancing product lines designed so more children could see themselves reflected, including dolls with a wider range of skin tones and body types, and dolls representing disabilities, as well as supporting gender-inclusive play through new offerings. That commitment to inclusion and belonging has been a consistent through line in his approach to brand stewardship and corporate leadership. Because he believes what we believe at ADL, that dignity is non-negotiable and that unity is not optional. So please join me in welcoming the President and CEO of GAP Incorporated and the recipient of ADL's 2026 Courage Against Hate Award, Richard Dickson.
Wow. First off, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you to the ADL. I am deeply honored and truly humbled by this extraordinary recognition. While the Courage Against Hate Award honors individuals, I share this recognition with the 80,000 plus people of Gap Inc. around the world who show up They show up every day, committed not only to build our company, but to bridge gaps to create a better world. Never is now is personal to me. All 4 of my grandparents survived the Holocaust. So I grew up, on behalf of them, thank you. I grew up listening to their stories, and you can imagine there were many. But the one, obviously, phrase that I always heard them saying was, "It could happen again." And to be completely candid, for most of my life, while I heard their words, I never really thought anything, even remotely, could ever happen like that again. But lately, the echo of their words are deafening. There's war in the Middle East. Anti-Semitism is at record high in the US and globally, with nearly half of adults laboring and harboring anti-Semitic values and views. Protests, including recent ones right here in New York City, are getting uglier. Anti-Semitic incidents are surging. Maybe you saw this on Friday, the editors of the Free Press, in a piece titled "The Virus of Anti-Semitic Violence," brought a brutal week into sharp focus. And I quote, "There were more synagogue attacks than days in the week," end quote. Everywhere, from Canada to Belgium, Norway, and Michigan. Those same editors also announced that they're going to start publishing a new weekly roundup called "This Week in Jew Hate." That's not abstract, that's not theoretical, that's now. It's a small wonder that people are hiding their Judaism, taking down mezuzahs, opting not to wear a star, a chai, or a kippah. Hiding may be a form of surviving, but I think we could all agree it is no way to live. No one should have to hide who they are, especially in America, a country founded on freedom, where the First Amendment to our Constitution guarantees everyone the right to freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, and petition. So the question for all of us is, how do we change the trajectory? Because it will take all of us. And in the short period of time that we have today, I'm going to ask you to find your own courage against hate and make it matter by platforming the change that our world needs so urgently. I also hope to inspire you by sharing what gives me courage and why, despite all the darkness, I see light. My courage has always come from my family. I mentioned that my grandparents survived the Holocaust, marked in years of deprivation, where every day was a struggle to live. As immigrants to New York City, they navigated language gaps, cultural gaps, religious gaps. And despite all of that, they persevered with a steadfast belief in our shared humanity, an unshakable commitment to repair a world that they had seen so broken. and the conviction to pass their values, hard work, education, philanthropy, from generation to generation, in Hebrew, lador vador. Their stories, creativity, work ethic, and values passed down to my parents and to me and helped shape who I am, a gift that I draw from every day. They're gone now, but their legacy lives on through me, a first-generation American, and my family who are here today. My grandparents' words, "Never forget," and the example they set help me understand that while history lives in us, it also asks something of us. It asks that we ensure that the next chapter is better than the last. In my role today, I meet all kinds of amazing people. Everyone from our employees all around the world and customers in our stores, partners in our global supply chain, civic leaders, world leaders, and other CEOs. And lately, everywhere I go, they all utter the same refrain. These are unpredictable times. Markets are volatile, politics are polarizing, technology is accelerating faster than we could get a grasp. And as a result, there isn't an institution that feels fully in control. That's dangerous, because history teaches us something predictable. Uncertainty breeds fear. And when fear goes unchecked, it looks for a target, someone or something to blame. Over time, blame hardens into hate. And today, hate spreads faster than ever. It moves through algorithms that reward outrage, through disinformation that distorts the truth, through extremes that dominate attention. Humanity isn't short on problems. It's short on ways of solving them together. Our biggest challenge today isn't just the gaps in the world. It's the gaps between people, the distance that keeps us from acting together. Division, alienation, polarization, an inability to see what we share. These are the defining issues of our time. And quite simply, we won't solve the problems before us until we recognize our common values, our common interests, our common causes, our common humanity. I believe we need more than better answers to our problems. We need a better culture to shape those answers, including more people willing to step into the gaps between us. And it does start with us, because we as leaders in business, in education, in government, in media, we shape culture, whether we intend to do it or not. Big companies, in particular, have resources, scale, platform, brands, reach, and I would argue a responsibility to use our reach to promote connection. Jonathan shared a bit about my career of leading brands to live their purpose. And at Mattel, Barbie was, and of course still is, a doll. But really, what was she made for? Barbie was created to inspire girls to reach their limitless potential. Our challenge in reinvigorating the brand was how to shift the prevailing perception of her from a frivolous doll to an inspiring canvas for a world of possibilities. We started with product, expanding the line to offer more than 175 different looks, hair, eyes, ethnicities, body types, abilities, so that kids could see themselves reflected in their dolls. And then we amplified all of it with storytelling and a movie. We did it not only to inspire girls, but to invite everyone to see the world through girls' eyes, bringing a light to women's empowerment, one of the most challenging cultural issues of our time. In doing so, we created more empathy, helping to bridge a gap between us as people and as culture. Similarly, at Gap Inc., I was drawn to the company of an iconic brand portfolio that did more than sell clothes. I didn't see a holding company. I saw a purpose-minded company whose brands spoke in lifestyle, but whose business from day one spoke in humanity. Gap was created to sell jeans for all races, all sizes, all genders, meaning it was inclusive before inclusivity became part of the cultural conversation. It bridged the generation gap and rooted us with an intention that's always been about doing the right thing. As a company, Gap Inc. isn't just where our brands live, it's where our worldview lives. And with eyes wide open to the urgency of now, we're moving from being purpose-minded to purpose-driven, bridging gaps to create a better world, and keeping purpose inside our walls to externalizing it to the world. Our purpose in culture is simple: human connection. To bridge the gaps between people. To do it, we need people willing to meet in the gaps between us. The way I think about it, if companies like Disney shaped popular culture in the 20th century through a worldview based on happiness and family values, we can shape the 21st century by helping people see what they have in common. So what does that look like in practice at Gap? It means creating products, stories, experiences, events that encourage people to meet in the gaps between us, share perspectives, and disagree better. For example, our stores are a window to the world. We welcome everybody, and we appreciate that the better we know people, the better we can serve them. So we invest in education and cultural enrichment. Right now, we're working on curriculum to educate our people on both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. By the way, once we have it right, we'll happily share it with other companies to spread the impact, because this is much bigger than us. We've begun to host what we call courageous conversations, gatherings that bring people together in the gaps between us for meaningful dialogues with a range of thought leaders and issues that really do matter. Everything from New York City's recent mayoral election to immigration and the global water crisis. Courageous conversations give our people the space to learn, to practice disagreeing better, and to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Just a show of hands, how many of you have been mid-sentence at a dinner party or around the family table when a friend or a family member says, "Stop, we can't talk about that"? Many of us. But only to realize that when you get just a little bit under the surface, there's actually common ground in the gap between you. That common ground is the messy middle. It is our shared humanity. And guess what? It's where most people are. So don't shut down. Talk, listen, disagree better, and find the points of connection between us. Being in the messy middle today takes courage. Those conversations can be very uncomfortable. But like I said, we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if we could spark enough of those moments, the connections will compound, energizing a movement, a force for good that recognizes our shared humanity, diminishes division, and moves the world forward together. Coming full circle, I'll wrap up with this. Hate spreads person to person, but so does courage. Where hate is dark, courage is light. It inspires us, it connects us, it moves us forward into a better reality. So it's time that we platform courage, disagreeing better with friends over dinner in order to find common ground. Encouraging education in the workplace that helps us understand cultural differences, including the impact of anti-Semitism, and taking responsibility as leaders to do the right thing. We may not change everyone, but we might change someone. And that someone changes someone else. Progress has never required everyone at once, it has always required someone first. And it's within each of us to be that someone. Think about it. Each of us has a circle of influence in our family, our workplaces, our communities. When we choose action over indifference, truth over distortion, courage over silence, we set something in motion. We begin to bridge gaps. History doesn't only ask what happened to us, it asks what we did. In moments like this, the future will be shaped by what spreads next, fear and hate, or courage and connection. So don't underestimate what one act of courage can do, because one becomes many, and many can change the world. Once again, I want to thank Jonathan and the ADL on behalf of my family here and my entire GAP family out there for this extraordinary honor. I know this will be a memory that certainly will last a lifetime. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again to Richard Dickson. Richard is someone who is using his public profile to make an incredible impact in the fight against anti-Semitism. But sometimes, as Jews, we don't choose to join the fight. The fight just comes to us. And that brings us to our next conversation, reality TV. Now, let's be honest here. Reality TV it's fun. It's dramatic. It's entertaining. And yes, it is sometimes a little wild. But being Jewish in that spotlight, that can attract a whole different kind of attention. Suddenly, a space that is supposed to just be entertaining becomes a place where hate can appear in real time. Now, speaking from experience, being visible online or in public, talking about things that truly matter to the Jewish community, or simply speaking about just being Jewish, it can feel like you're constantly looking over your shoulder. Every post, every comment, every public appearance, people notice. Some of it is supportive, and some of it is extremely critical, and sometimes it is outright hostile. It can be exhausting, frustrating, and scary. So how do we push back on that type of hate? How do we respond when our identity is being criticized or mocked online daily? And how do we show up, not just for ourselves, but for our community, while still being visible, authentic, and engaged? Those are the exact questions this next conversation is going to explore. We are going to hear from people who've experienced it firsthand, who can tell us what it is like to face harassment in the public eye and how they navigate it with courage and sometimes a little humor. So let's get real here. To kick things off, please welcome actor, director, and television personality, the talented Jerry O'Connell.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Montana. This is exciting. This is going to be like Real Housewives of the ADL coming up here. Secret Lives of ADL wives. No, I really am excited for this panel. It's going to be like a reunion. All right, I would like to begin by telling you exactly why I am here. Jewish people have been helping me for my entire life. Tommy Gutman's mom allowed us to raid her fridge every day after school. My kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Rosenbaum, somehow let this hyperactive child into the first grade. Rob Reiner, God rest his soul, put me in Stand By Me. And my mentor in the entertainment industry, Michael Rotenberg, has helped guide my career for close to 3 decades. My father's boss, Bill Silverstein, my godfather, employed my father for most of his adult life. In fact, Bill Silverstein, Uncle Bill as we called him, my father's boss, was in the Air Force. He served in World War II. My Uncle Bill was shot down, became a prisoner of war in Germany during World War II. And Uncle Bill would tell my brother and I these harrowing stories of being a Jewish prisoner of war in Nazi Germany and how frightening that was for him. The fact he had to hide his Judaism made me furious. My young mind said to itself, if this ever happened again in my lifetime, if that level of anti-Semitism ever occurred in my lifetime, I would do something about it. Which is the reason why I am here today. I am ashamed to say that after October 7th, I was not propelled to do anything to help my Jewish friends. I knew the events of October 7th were horrific, and October 7th was an act of anti-Semitic terror, but it was not until my mentor that I mentioned earlier, Michael Rotenberg, invited me to a screening of Bearing Witness to the October 7th massacre, that I truly understood that October 7th was not only an act of terror, it was an act of evil, and something had to be done about it. When Michael Rotenberg invited me to that screening, I told him I had no desire to go. I did not think I could handle the graphic violence. I just didn't want to go. Michael, who is involved with the Creative Community for Peace, told me that, thank you, yes, I'm a part of them as well. They're a great organization. He said he didn't want to go alone, and would I please go? Jewish people have been showing up for me and my family for my entire life, and it was time for me to show up for my Jewish friends. During that screening, Michael and I held each other, I'm not exaggerating, we held each other for the entire 47 minutes of that film. We have all witnessed anti-Semitic remarks. We have all witnessed anti-Semitic rhetoric. Many people in this room have experienced firsthand anti-Semitism, but nothing prepared me for what I witnessed in that film. My life will never be the same. I think often of those brothers. I think often of them. I knew something had to be done. I knew I had to honor the victims of October 7th, which is why I'm here today, which is why I show up. And really, it's pretty simple. I sign every open letter condemning the boycotting of Israeli artists. I show up by condemning any person, group, or statement that downplays the horrors of what occurred on September 7th. I show up by standing firmly with the simple concept that Israel has a right to defend itself. And I show up by accepting an invitation to speak here at Never Is Now. And that's really what today is about. It's really about showing up for each other again and again and again and again. Okay, now the fun part. The women you are about to meet, they show up as well every single day in the most public, the most scrutinized, some would say the harshest arena there is, reality television, folks. Millions of viewers, social media at full volume in the comment section that never sleeps. And these ladies do it proudly and openly as Jewish women. They have faced harassment They have faced online hate. They have faced the comments that cross every line, and they have not gone quiet. These ladies have actually gotten louder, which takes guts. And we are about to hear exactly what that looks like up close. Please, I'm supposed to go backstage after this, but I'm sitting right there and watching this. Please welcome Erin Lichy, Jackie Goldscheinder, and our moderator, Amanda Hirsch.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. You know, I'm a huge reality TV fan, aside from being myself a podcaster and having an online presence. I live for these ladies. I live for Bravo. And there is nothing more heartwarming for me than to see representation on that screen. We love seeing the fighting and the drama and the friendships, but I love seeing representation, and it just matters so much to me. So we have Jackie, Real Housewives of New Jersey, Erin from New York, and Meredith Marks was supposed to be here from Salt Lake. She couldn't make it, but she made a little video. So let's play the video before we get into it.
Hi, it's Meredith Marks, and I am so sad that I am unable to be there today due to these storms. However, I want to thank the ADL for all of their hard work that they do. It is so important to have conversations right now regarding anti-Semitism. Judaism is an important part of who I am. It's my blood, it's my DNA. And I hope that my sharing of my personal journey through my bat mitzvah or my Shabbat dinners has helped to humanize Jewish life for everybody. You know, unfortunately, social media sometimes can bring a lot of negativity surrounding things, and it also can bring support. But anti-Semitism online is a real thing, a real problem. And there is a lot of online hate. And so it's important that we support each other in this journey during a very difficult time in our world. And speaking up is what matters, because it's how people learn and grow and change and evolve. And most hatred is born out of ignorance, generally. They don't understand who other people are and why they have their cultural norms or behaviors that they do. And so I think it's very important to have a voice and let people know that, you know, we're all just humans, and silence allows hate to grow. So I encourage everyone to call out anti-Semitism when you feel it, when you see it. The only way to shift culture is by being vocal and having a voice. So I am so sad that I'm not there today, but I do encourage all of you to think before you post online. Sometimes the way people interpret things is different than your intention, and it can be very hurtful. But thank you so much to the ADL for all of the hard work that you do. I wish I could be with you all today again, and I am wishing you all the best for a very successful day.
So we know that you're Jewish, right? But the viewers kind of learned about your Judaism on the show, whether it was through talking about it, different traditions, or things that you're doing with your family. So what's one of those things that stood out to you? Erin, we'll start with you, that you did on your show.
I had a nice big Shabbat dinner that I just happen to have every Friday, because that's just what we do at my house. And they wanted to come. Aw, I love Shabbat. And they were excited, production was excited, and so they came into my home, and it was, you know, a nice dinner, but like fairly casual, family. My dad was there, some of my siblings, my kids, and I think what was so beautiful about it was just showing that it's just part of our tradition to get together with family and friends once a week, download each other. You know, it shows not only the Jewish aspect, but also just like community and how important community is and family. And so that was special.
I loved watching that. And I feel like people can not only connected with the food, but with that idea where it's like, this is what we do as Jews.
Yeah.
We come together, we host, we eat, we have fun. So I love that. Jackie, what about you?
My very first season on the show in 2018, I did Passover dinner. And it was really nice. I was the only Jewish cast member. And I was very excited for everyone to see just my big Jewish family and everybody, you know, celebrating a holiday, because all the holidays were non-Jewish ones on the show. So that was special.
What was like the feedback that you got? Because I know that hate can sometimes feel so much stronger than love. I'm sure you got a lot of love sharing that, right, from the Jewish community. Did you also feel hate? Like, what did it feel like in the aftermath of those episodes?
Honestly, I have to say, until everything happened October 7th post, it was all good. Like, people were just like, I want to come to your Shabbat dinner. I want to be invited to Shabbat dinner. I mean, friends were literally like, why don't you ever invite me to Shabbat dinner once they saw that. So I feel like, honestly, I do feel overwhelmingly that people are loving and excited and love to watch the culture. I think there are, you know, some really crazy people online, and I wonder where those people come from or why they make those comments. So sometimes I think we have to do a little, you know, more in-depth thinking on where these people are really writing these posts from, because I don't always feel like it's natural.
Yeah. Before October 7th, there was not the level of hate anywhere near where there is now. Most of the people who loved that episode of Passover dinner were Jewish. So that's the feedback I got. I didn't get tons of feedback from non-Jewish people, but also no hate. Nobody said, why are you showing this on TV?
Why was it important for you to share, for both of you to share those moments? Did it come from you? Was that something that was important to you?
It's so important to me, but also, like, I signed up to be on a reality TV show. So for me, I want to share what is real for me. And what's real for me is that I have Shabbat dinner every Friday.
Yeah.
So, like, I love showing my Jewish heritage. It's part of who I am. And I just feel it's very important to remain authentic. So I just, like, I don't want to shy away from the parts of my life that are Jewish, that are, you know, my dad was from Israel. So, like, these are my everyday experiences, and I wanted to share it.
I love it because I feel like, you know, what we see online can be so extreme when talking about Israel, for instance, or talking about Judaism, and to just normalize it. Erin from a reality show on Bravo saying, my dad is from Israel, I go to Israel a lot, I have family there, like, all's good. Like, the world hasn't stopped, we can talk about it and we can bring it up. What about you, Jackie?
My mother is from Israel, and I'm also, being Jewish is very important to me. And so when I got on the show, I knew that not only just living authentically did I want people to see it, but I wanted to do more. Like, I really wanted to be Jewish on TV, you know, and be that person and represent, you know, there wasn't that many Jewish housewives when I got on. So it was important to me to show as much as I could. And my children, all 4 of them were bar mitzvahed and bat mitzvahed during the course of me being on the show, but it didn't overlap with filming. But I made sure that all of their bar mitzvahs were, you know, on social media. And like I said, before October 7th, there was not the level of hate there is now, and now it is sometimes overwhelming.
So now, talking about that, Erin, I know you're going into filming another season. That's been announced, we can say it. Does the layer of that of after October 7th, do you have any additional fears going into that because of everything?
Sometimes I get a little like, oh, should I not say that? Like, there definitely is that feeling, which I wish there wasn't, because I grew up in New York City and I never had that growing up. I never felt like I have to shy away, or maybe I shouldn't speak Hebrew here, or whatever it is. It's sad to me that that's even a thought. Actually, I'm not going to tell the story about my mom, but I think that ultimately, you know, it's still important to to share and to, as you said, normalize it. I really like how you said destigmatize. Like
Yeah.
it's not, it doesn't have to be something that, you know, is such a like outright in your face Jewish thing. It can just be like part of the norm, right? And then I think that helps to destigmatize and make it less of like a, like we're always trying to fight for something, you know?
Yeah, because I think, and this is a lot, like what we're discussing here is the world of reality TV and online, right, social media, where you see the black or the white, this extreme post or that extreme post. And I think just seeing normal Jewish girls celebrating their traditions, being with their families, you know, when I visit Israel, I post about it, and I'm like, here's beautiful, beautiful Israel. Like, this is what it looks like, this place that, you know, has garnered so much hate around the world. Like, look at this beautiful beach and these people and these restaurants. So I feel like those things, not necessarily only the infographics that we see, do a lot of good. But have there been moments where you felt singled out on your cast for being Jewish, or any anti-Semitic moments coming from the audiences online?
I've never felt singled out, never, and I will say that wholeheartedly. I have gotten really nasty DMs. But nobody has ever said anything horrible to me in person. Nobody's ever said anything horrible to me in a group setting. It's really just been on social media.
On social media.
Yeah.
When you speak out.
Like if I post something or, and the craziest thing to me is this whole like concept of Zionism, and like that's become such a dirty word, which I really don't understand, because it really just means that you believe in Israel, which like I'm still confused.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, I think that is like the worst, and sometimes I'll see comments, like if I post something, people will be like, oh, that's because she's a Zionist. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. What does that mean? That kind of stuff is definitely not a good feeling, but for the most part, like in person or by my cast, I've never felt anything.
So just online?
Yeah, online is a cesspool.
Online is a cesspool.
Yes.
I think for me, there's been moments where a comment is made, and underlying it, I feel like it comes from a place that's maybe not great, but that someone doesn't realize that they're saying it. Like, I had a season where I threw a pizza party for my kids, and I was continuously called cheap and told that I'm so cheap, I'm so cheap. And sometimes those kinds of stereotypes where you're like, it doesn't feel right, but also, before now, I didn't feel like it was okay to complain about anti-Semitism. It wasn't a common thing for people to complain about, and I didn't know if anyone would understand, so I just didn't say anything, and I wasn't sure. But online, the hate is a lot louder, because everyone is, you know, a keyboard warrior. And I think with online hate, you have to be very careful about how you respond, because you are a public figure, you know?
Yeah.
So when you do post, because both of you post when October 7th happened, and after that, and raising awareness about anti-Semitism, is it a choice that you make? Is it something that you know you're going to receive backlash for, your DMs are going to be blowing up, or is it just something bigger than yourselves that you feel like you have to do?
There are times where I feel like I have no choice but to post it, because I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Like, it gets to that level sometimes. I will say that the overwhelming community on social media that follow me are my people, right? Whether they're Jewish or not. They're saying things like, thank you for saying this was ridiculous, I can't believe someone posted that, like, thanks for bringing light, or thanks for showing, as you said, like your trip to Israel, like I've been dying to go. It's not only Jewish people, a lot of people used to travel to Israel, like it wasn't a thing, you know? But I think that it is scary when you get, like, the fact that people are able to be on social media and say things without having a face, having a bot, you know, Instagram account or whatever it is, and attack you, that is scary, because you don't know who's behind on the other side of the wall. Like, you just don't know what that means. Like, if someone's threatening you, you don't know if they really mean it, or if they're just some crazy, you know, like, you know, you just don't know. So that can be a little scary. I mean, I have young children, and it freaks me out sometimes.
That are on TV and you show them?
Yeah. And also in the suburbs, it's scary because, like, I'll get so many crazy threats, and then my kids will leave the garage door open when they leave, and I'm like, you have to shut the garage door. We're Jewish, and people know where we live.
Wow.
And I get nervous, and I hate that I have to say that to them, but that's the reality, is that you don't know who's on the other side of it, and you don't know what people will do in real life, and you hope it's just,
keyboard
you know,
warriors.
yeah.
Well, the thing is that I wanted to talk about next is like, you know, I love pop culture and entertainment. The Oscars were on last night, right? And I follow all these people, and obviously I'm disappointed so often in so many. Like I'm almost left without people to really look up to wholeheartedly, because I know that they spoke out against us or whatever it is, that I have like layers now. I'm like, okay, they don't like us, but they don't hate us. So like, I'm okay with them, you know?
Right.
Obviously, Javier Bardem yesterday got on stage and said what he said, and got applause for it, right? Like the biggest applauses, the biggest media coverage, and that's what irks me, because I almost feel like that's the cool kid thing to do.
Yeah.
We're on the uncool side. Like we're cool, but it almost feels like everyone cheering in that room just feels justified to do so because the person next to them, because Billie Eilish thinks it's okay,
Yeah.
and what do they, like they don't know, but that's the Hollywood representation. We know, and Erin, we've spoken about this, like behind closed doors, like so many Jews, right?
Yeah.
We run Hollywood, we run the world, right? But like so many supporters, but what we see on these red carpets, what we see that they post is always not aligned with the Jews.
You almost have to feel like, is it by design? Like, because it doesn't really add up. Now we have, and I always say this, like I'm not on the BBC, I am on Bravo, I'm not here to talk politics because I don't know enough. But what I will say is that I have Persian friends, and tons of them that are not Jewish, that are just so excited that there's this liberation happening. But yet, yeah, for real. But yet, it's still uncool.
It's still uncool.
So it's like, if that's uncool, then maybe it's not really adding up that our side is uncool. Like something is missing, and I haven't quite figured it out, but there's something in there that we don't know.
What do you think is like the responsibility of networks, of producers and platforms when it comes to combating anti-Semitism? You know, I remember Paramount put out a statement where they weren't gonna, you remember when Paramount did that?
Yes.
So I mean, it's really seldom and far between for networks to take a stand, but where do you think that responsibility lies?
I wish that they would do the same. I wish all the networks would do what they did for every other social justice cause. That's just what I wish, because
so
for
true.
everyone else, I feel like, and I also did the most that I could for every other social justice cause over the years, and I felt like, where is everyone when it happened with anti-Semitism? And it's still been way too silent for me.
Yeah, we are our own fighters.
Yeah.
No
And
one's there to
that's why we
support
have to
us.
be so loud, because we are our own fighters. We are the ones fighting this.
But I also want to give credit to the side of the media that will show both sides. Like if Javier Bardem wants to come out and say these things, no one's going to censor that because it's reality. And I respect that. But yes, I agree. I think after October 7th, there should have been a statement from every single company world. Like there should have been, it wasn't a question.
It wasn't a question. However, it was, you know?
Yep.
Did you get disappointed in people in your lives that didn't speak up, or friends or castmates?
Yeah. Yep, sure did.
Yeah, enough said. So on a positive note, because I do feel like Erin said, we focus so much on the hate, and there is anti-Semitism and there is hate in this world. But like Erin said, I too feel the love, and I too feel supported, and that's more than the hate. Unfortunately, hate feels so loud and feels so big and feels so awful, but there is so much love around us, and that really, you know, it makes me optimistic.
This one over here is interviewing every single A-list celebrity. Nobody wants to get interviewed by anyone else but you on the podcast.
Thank you.
It's true. And she's outwardly Israeli.
And I mean, it is true. Thank you. I mean, it's true that I'm outwardly Israeli, not the nice things that you said. But I wanted to ask, like on a positive note, what gives you hope that speaking about anti-Semitism, being open about your Jewishness, for it to open conversation and challenge hate?
Well, I do a lot of videos explaining why it's so important for me to talk about anti-Semitism and why, you know, I'm the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors and I talk about that a lot. And I think the number of non-Jewish people who come on my page and say, we support you, I'm not Jewish, but I love you and thank you for speaking up. And people who know that what starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. They are very loving and warm, and so I love that.
People that want to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting when people are like, oh my God, I want to know that recipe, like that, you know, that Jewish recipe or that Middle Eastern recipe that you make, or, you know, things where people are excited by the culture, just the same way I'm excited by other people's cultures. I love learning about other cultures and traveling. And I think, like, I love this word of destigmatizing the issues around just being a regular, great Jewish person. And that's what I have hope for. I think things will calm down. They have to, right?
I hope
Can't
so.
continue
We're
this way.
hopeful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone here. And
thanks for having us.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Wow, can we give it up for these beautiful, smart, incredible ladies? Wow, 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 what a day we've had so far, right? Can we take a second to appreciate what we've experienced together? From powerful conversations, to inspiring leaders, to the moments that made us laugh, reflect, maybe even tear up a little bit. Today was full in the best way. This is what happens when people who care show up in the same room. Ideas get bigger, courage gets louder, and hope feels real. I certainly have felt it all day, and not just from our amazing guests and speakers, but from all of you here with us. In the hallway conversations I've been having, and all the hugs I've been getting, and the selfies, and everything. I love it, I love it, I love it. Because that connection, that is what this is all about. We're not just here to sit and listen. We're here to build, to strengthen relationships, to learn from each other, to challenge ourselves, to show up together, and to turn inspiration into real action. And we are just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. We have an incredible set of breakout sessions starting right now, from a live podcast recording on building and sustaining Christian-Jewish alliances, to conversations about dismantling anti-Semitism in the arts, identifying bias in the media, and ADL's litigation impact. You can explore how Jewish communities around the world are working together to build resiliency, and even learn how to win hearts and change minds through conversations about anti-Semitism. Don't forget to stop by the Protect, Educate, and Advocate experiences to educate and engage with ADL experts and see how you can take action. And if you all are watching at home, there are plenty of ways for you to take action at adl.org/takeaction. All that and more is happening right now. And before you leave, I'm going to give you guys some homework. Yep, you have to do some homework here. I want you to say hi to someone that you've never met. Exchange numbers with someone new. Follow them on social media. Post and share something that you've learned. Keep this incredible energy going. And then make sure you set your alarm, because we are coming back right here very early in the morning to do it all over again, with more conversations, more ideas, more moments that remind us why this work matters. Never is now is not just a concept. It is a mindset. It is a commitment. And it's something that we all carry with us long after we leave this stage. I'm so incredibly honored and proud to be in this room with you. I'm so proud to be a part of this community. And I'm so excited to see you all back here bright and early tomorrow. So make sure you rest up, recharge, hydrate, and let's keep it going. Thank you all so much.